So in this video, I'm going to go over APVO and then also how I traded it. I had a couple questions about, how can you anticipate an offering? So I'd say that if the people asking those questions are actually, I would go so far as to say in the minority. I think most traders these days know when an offering is coming, particularly when it's an S1 offering. And if you don't know what that is, go and see one of my recent videos called Understanding Small Cap Offerings. Because the thing about an S1 offering is that there's not really any interpretation, and you don't really need a paid subscription for this. You can go to the free filings and see that they have an S1 right here. Now, we make it a little easier by showing the filing title, but it takes a couple seconds to click into it just to see if it's an offering or if it's a share resale registration. But if they have an S1 offering, you don't have to dig and see oh, do they need cash? It's like the act of them filing that means that they're almost surely going to do an offering from that. It's different from a shelf where there's a little bit more research involved. But yeah, check out my past video on that. But anyways, so given that knowing an offering is coming isn't necessarily an edge, where does the edge come from? It's really just comes down to managing your risk and finding the spots on the chart that offer the best risk reward. Now I've gone over this before, where I use one of the things I do is I like to look at how either the same ticker or other tickers that use the same underwriter or even the same funds, how those perform before or after an offering, depending on, in this case, I'd be looking at how did it do before an offering. If they had already done the offering and it's been gapping up, then I would be looking for charts, with the same people involved, how they did after the offering. So that's kind of what I do. So I'll just show how I traded it and also show some examples I found that were similar to this one. So with this, I was in pre-market. I added, everything was looking great. I actually moved this chart up into the corner of my screen just to not babysit it. And then I look back a few minutes later and I'm stopped out. And then got back in here and got stopped out again. So I was already down, pretty nicely at this point. And here I wasn't planning on trading it again, actually. So one thing I did see was here in the research, you've probably seen me do this before, is do the, where is it? Underwriter lookup, where I'll look at basically how stocks performed prior to a Roth offering. So Roth is the underwriter. And this one stood out to me. Now, it stood out to me after the fact, I'll say. I saw it before, right? I saw this one. I mean, one thing that I did notice was that it looks like they're doing a lot of intraday offerings, right? So here too, this is APVO. This is the same ticker actually. But nothing that I was okay, well, I have a pretty clear idea of what it's going to do out the gate, because there's a lot of, it was different for the most part, and then they had this one, this was pre-market, and they dropped it after the market opened. So at this point I was going to be okay, well, it's looking just like APVO. They're probably going to drop an offering. I didn't think that. I wanted, I need more confirmation than that. But them dropping the offering, then that's what gave me confirmation on this setup right here. Now this was just luck. I mean, this was luck. I had the montage open. I was basically watching it very closely when the news of the offering hit, so I was able to get in. But that's not really my thing. I'm very slow. I'm usually not good at trading news, I guess you could say. So this is just luck. But this one right here, this is the one where I was okay, it seems like they probably were running the same algo, especially because this was also a micro float at the time. I don't know exactly what they're doing. It doesn't matter. I don't have to know exactly what they're doing, but it seemed to me that it was likely that they're running the same algo, in which case when it comes down, when they drop the offering and it comes down here, that it's going to be the same. There's a good chance it's going to be the same action as well. So that's why here I was looking for it to consolidate a little bit, try to push and fail to break out, and then, get this fade here. So this is the spot on the chart where it's offering very good probability and risk reward. And this back here, this is all valid. just not necessarily, I don't have to have a specific example of a chart of how it performed in the past to trade it. I still have a strategy for executing on stocks without, seeing previous behavior. But this to me was a very good risk reward, high probability spot just based on the past behavior after seeing this and basically seeing it following the same pattern. I guess while we're on this topic, there's another one this morning. Let's see here. PTLE, this one, which was also a similar approach where I had looked. So what happened with this one is this is one of those China liquidation stocks with an underwriter I'm very familiar with. It liquidated. They did an offering somewhere here for like 30 cents, and then they gapped it over here, which from the underwriter lookup, I found one similar, which was CLIK. This also same underwriters, same type of chart. You see this liquidation, and then they do an offering here, and then they gap it up. And then so this is how this one turned out. So I was looking for the same thing on this one. So yeah, here sizing a little bit too big, took some off, and then got back in. But as you can see, I was looking for like a shakeout like I did here. But in general, it still turned out kind of the same. Even this like choppiness right here and this fade afterwards, it was doing that. Do I know exactly what they're doing here? No, I don't. But I know that they're running the same algo, playbook, whatever you want to call it. It just is, there's good chances that it was just going to do the same thing at CLIK. All this kind of like the same variables. But that's it. Yeah, I mean, I guess to sum it up, it's not about like knowing there was an offering, knowing there's dilution, like that stuff. Everybody has access to that information, almost the same as like knowing what the float is. I'd go so far as to say that is like the information is so readily available that it's like knowing the float or knowing the market cap. So then it becomes, how you use that information and how you manage risk and find the good spots on the chart that offer good risk reward, and also not getting chopped up in the meantime, because I know that, before, this is something that can wreck you, especially when you get that bias that an offering is coming, and it's just not acting like it should. You can get banged up pretty bad on these, adding to a loser, or even just trying to get in and out, and it's just they're running this algo and it's just stop hunting you all day long. And then even if you catch the offering, you're trying to claw your way back to break even. But that's it.